And question 3 are inverse functions. So inverse function just kind of means we're doing the opposite really. So the classic example is that an exponential and logarithmic functions are the inverse of each other. They're reflected along this 45-degree line, and say I had a point on here that was 1, 4, then the corresponding point on this would be 4, 1. Now the x's and y's are switched. In the same way that if I've got a domain for this, so the domain for this function, so there's your domain, there's any real number, that's going to spit out a range of values for this. And when I do the inverse, they will flip over. Suddenly my range will become the domain, and the domain would become the range. So everything's kind of mirrored. It's back to front a little bit. So just a wee bit of thinking about what we're doing. In fact, I'll just put some numbers in just to really illustrate that. So if you've got like a base 3 for an exponential and a log, say here I put the 0.2 and 9 in, so 3 to the power of 2 would give you 9. That would be the opposite over here. So if I flip those round, so this time I'll make my x 9, my y would be 2. If I put it below, if I did y was 2, that would occur when x here is 9. That's what our logs is, isn't it? 3 to the power of 2 is 9. Okay. So it's just trying to show you so that's the point 9, 2, just to show you how it works about flipping round the x and the y's. But like for you doing this question, even easier than that, all you have to do is say that, okay, I've got y is equal to 4 plus a third x. That's my function. This is a fancy way of saying, I've got a function, and with respect to x, pretty much, all the variables is x. So I can just call that y. This is my y. This is the output, and I'm just rearranging now to make x the subject. So BODMAS in reverse. Y take away 4 is a third x. Undo your third by multiplying through by 3, and this is where the kind of the difficulty is now you need to realise what you've done. What you've actually worked out by doing that is you've worked out the inverse function. And we just change y to say x, okay? Some people, when they do it, they would start off by saying that x is equal to, they kind of flip them round, because like we said, you're flipping it round, aren't you? The x's become the y. Some people do that and then rearrange to make y the subject, and you could do that if you like. It's the exact same thing. It just means that at the end, you don't have to change as much. You just say, well, y is the inverse, and then 3x take away 4. It's the exact same thing. Doesn't matter. As long as you understand that you're undoing what you did, you're kind of, you're flipping the variables. So it's absolutely fine. And that's your 3 marks for that. So you really get a mark for kind of understanding what to do. Yeah, it's more of as a marker line here. Let me just read that. Yeah, they don't seem to want you to have to write anything to begin with, but they want you to make sure you write this time. You couldn't finish off, for example, with y equals, that wouldn't be okay. But what you could start off with saying is, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it, it's okay. But you can read it if you want, but the point is you're rearranging. The other question you sometimes get here is what happens if you substitute the inverse function into a function, or if you put the original function into the inverse, and all that's meaning is x. You just end up right back where you started, okay? So just watch out. Sometimes that comes up for a little mark. You could prove it by actually substituting in, but all you have to do is remember that you're going to go right back where you started. So yeah, a nice little 3 marks there.